Chapter 1. Hi, I am Liba, and welcome to my new school in London. Hi, I am Liba, and today I am going to talk about my first day at a London school. Can you imagine what it's like to walk into a place filled with new faces, different accents, and a culture that's both exciting and unfamiliar? Let me tell you, my heart was beating fast as I stepped into my new school in London. Everything was so alive, so busy. People were talking, laughing, and moving in all directions. It felt like I was stepping into a whole new world. Have you ever felt like that? From the moment I entered the school, I noticed the variety of accents. I heard students and teachers speaking English, but each voice sounded a little different. Some spoke quickly, others slowly. Some words sounded familiar, while others were totally new. It was fascinating. I thought to myself, this is going to be a challenge, but I'm ready for it. As I started getting comfortable, I remembered something my teacher back home taught me: skimming and scanning. Do you know these reading techniques? Skimming is when you read quickly to get the main idea, like reading the headlines of a newspaper to see what's interesting. Scanning, on the other hand, is looking for specific details. For example, if you're looking at a school schedule, you scan for the time of your next class. These techniques would definitely help me here as I navigated this new world. There's a famous quote I remembered that made me feel even more motivated. "Reading is a basic tool in the living of a good life," by Mortimer Adler. Isn't that true? Learning to read English better here would open up so many opportunities. It's like opening a door to understanding this big, exciting world around me. I'll admit, I was nervous. But seeing all the different faces, hearing the voices, and even feeling a bit lost was an adventure. I thought about how each person there must have had their own first day at some point. So, I have a question for you. Do you remember your first day in a new place? Maybe a new school or a new job? Share your experiences in the comments. I'd love to know if you felt the same mix of excitement and nervousness. As the day went on, I couldn't wait to find out what else my new school had to offer. This was just the beginning of my journey in London, and I could already tell it was going to be unforgettable. I hope you'll join me in the next chapter to hear more about my adventure. Chapter 2. Meeting my classmates and the cultural differences. Hello again. So, on my second day at school, I was both excited and a little nervous. Imagine this: stepping into a classroom filled with students from all over the world, each with their own stories, their own ways of speaking, and even their own customs. It was like traveling the world without leaving the room. Meeting new classmates was thrilling, but also a bit challenging. How would I connect with people who came from such different backgrounds? I found myself introduced to classmates from places I'd only heard about. There were students from Japan, Brazil, Nigeria, Spain, you name it. Some were shy, some were talkative, but everyone was curious. We quickly started learning about each other's lives, and it was surprising how much we could share just by talking. Each conversation taught me something new, not just about English, but about the world. One of the best ways I found to learn English was through repetition. I noticed that many students, like me, would repeat words and phrases to get comfortable with them. If I didn't understand something, I'd ask my classmates to say it again slowly. Over time, I'd start recognizing words and phrases more easily. Another technique that helped was predictive reading. This means that as I listened to someone or read a sentence, I'd try to guess what word might come next. It made conversations feel like a fun puzzle. But here's where it got even more interesting. Some customs and words were completely new to me. For instance, I remember a friend from Australia greeting me by saying, "G'day." I was puzzled at first, wondering, what does that mean? Slowly, I learned that "G'day" just meant hello in a friendly Australian way. In another conversation, a friend from Japan handed me a small folded paper, a colorful origami crane. It was a symbol of friendship and good luck. Little things like this made me realize how beautiful and diverse the world truly is. There's a quote I think about often. "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one." George R.R. Martin. It reminds me of how lucky I am to experience so many cultures and stories through my classmates. Every time I listen to them or read something from their culture, it's like stepping into a new world. So, I'm curious, have you ever met someone from a different culture? Maybe they shared something interesting, like a phrase, a habit, or a story that you'd never heard before. I'd love to hear about it. Share your experiences in the comments, and let's learn from each other. This was only my second day, but already I felt like I was gaining something priceless. New friendships, new words, and new perspectives. Who knows what else I'll discover in the days to come. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where I'll explore an incredible place, the school library. There's so much more to come. Chapter 3. Discovering the Library and the World of Books. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm taking you to one of the most magical places in my new school, the library. Imagine stepping into a quiet, peaceful room filled with rows and rows of books. As I walked in, it felt like I had entered a secret world where every shelf held a new story, a new idea, or a new adventure. It was like every book was waiting to tell me something amazing. I'd always loved books, but this library was something special. There were books on every subject you could imagine: science, art, history, languages, even books on cooking and travel. Some books looked worn, with pages softened by readers before me, while others were brand new. I couldn't wait to pick one up and start reading. But with so many choices, where would I start? As I walked down the aisles, I remembered something my teacher once said about active reading. Active reading is when you don't just read the words but interact with them. For example, if you read something interesting, you stop for a moment and think about it, maybe even ask yourself questions. What does this mean? How does it relate to me? It's like having a conversation with the book. And then there's note-taking. As I read, I could jot down a few important points or ideas in a notebook. These notes help me remember what I learned, especially when I want to go back and review. Then, as I explored further, I saw a small section that looked older and different. These books had beautiful covers with golden letters and interesting designs. They were classic novels, stories that had been loved by readers for years. Just as I reached for one, a quote came to mind. "A book is a dream that you hold in your hand," by Neil Gaiman. Isn't that so true? Every book here felt like it held someone's dream, their imagination, or their wisdom. But I won't spoil all the details just yet. I'll leave you wondering, which book did I end up choosing? Was it an exciting story, a mysterious tale, or maybe a book filled with facts and discoveries? I promise it was something that made my heart race a little and kept me turning the pages late into the evening. So, what about you? Do you have a favorite book or a place where you love to read? Tell me in the comments, and maybe we can share some recommendations. My journey in the library was just beginning, and I couldn't wait to come back every day. Next, I'll share my experiences with learning English by speaking in front of my class, a challenging but exciting part of my adventure. Stay tuned for Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Learning the Art of Speaking English. Hello again. Today, I want to talk about one of the most challenging parts of my new school life, speaking English in front of the class. Have you ever felt that nervous excitement when you're about to speak in front of a group? That's exactly how I felt on the day my teacher asked me to present a short talk to the class. My heart was racing, and I kept wondering, will they understand me? Will I make any mistakes? At first, it was difficult. I could feel every word as I spoke, hoping it sounded right and clear. But as I continued, I started to feel a bit more comfortable. My classmates smiled and listened, and their encouragement gave me the confidence to keep going. Slowly, I realized that speaking was a skill, just like reading or writing. The more I practiced, the easier it would become. One technique that really helped me was shadowing. Have you heard of it? Shadowing is when you listen to someone speaking English, like a teacher, a friend, or even a video, and then repeat what they say right after them. It's like being their shadow. This technique helps with pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. You get to hear and practice the natural flow of English, which can make a huge difference when you speak on your own. Another helpful method was rereading. I would read a passage out loud and then read it again, maybe a bit faster or with more expression. Each time, I felt more fluent and natural. Rereading was like building a pathway in my mind, helping me remember the words and how they should sound. With each attempt, speaking felt less like a challenge and more like a fun exercise. There's a quote that really inspired me. "One language sets you in a corridor for life. 2 languages open every door along the way," by Frank Smith. Isn't that true? Every word I learned, every sentence I practiced, felt like a new door opening, connecting me to more people and more possibilities. I knew that by learning English, I was gaining a key to a much larger world. So I'm curious, have any of you had to speak in English, maybe in a presentation or a conversation with someone? How did it feel? Did any techniques help you, like shadowing or rereading? Share your experiences in the comments. I'd love to hear about the challenges you faced and how you overcame them. With every presentation, my confidence grew a little more, and I started to enjoy speaking English. In our next chapter, I'll share some exciting activities at school that make learning even more fun. See you then. Chapter 5. Mastering English with Fun Activities and Events. Hello again. Today, I'm going to share some of the fun ways I'm learning English at my new school. Imagine learning a language not just through books and exercises, but through exciting events, games, and even storytelling. This is what makes my school in London so unique. They make learning feel like a big adventure. One of my favorite events was English Play Day. It was an entire day where students acted out short plays in English. Each group had a script, and we practiced reading and acting together. The goal wasn't just to memorize lines, but to express the meaning with feeling and gestures. It was challenging but so much fun. Performing the lines helped me practice pronunciation and build confidence, and I even learned new expressions just by listening to others. After our performance, the applause from the audience felt amazing. It was like a reward for our hard work. Another event I loved was called Story Circle. Here, each student took turns telling a story. We could use props, act out parts, or even make up our own endings. Storytelling exercises are a fantastic way to improve English because they let us use our imagination while speaking in English. You think about words as you go, and sometimes you surprise yourself with new phrases or ideas. This event taught me the power of interactive reading, where you don't just read words on a page but bring them to life. Games also played a huge part in making learning English enjoyable. We played word games, guessing games, and even had an English quiz competition. One game I enjoyed was called Describe and Guess. One person describes something without naming it, and the others guess what it is. For example, I might describe a hot drink that wakes you up in the morning, and everyone shouts, "Coffee." It was amazing how much vocabulary I learned just by playing. There's a quote I think perfectly describes this journey. The more you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. By Dr. Seuss. With every event, play, and game, I felt like I was going further and further into the English language, exploring new words and discovering new ways to express myself. It made me realize that learning a language opens doors to places you might never have imagined. And here's a little suspense for you. Our school is planning a big event soon, one that will involve students from all grades. I've heard rumors that it's something very special, something that could take our English learning to a whole new level. What could it be? I'll give you a hint. It might involve an audience, lights, and lots of English. Before I reveal more, I'd love to hear from you. What kinds of fun activities have helped you learn English? Maybe you've played a game, read a story out loud, or joined a group activity. Share your experiences in the comments, and let's swap ideas. I can't wait to tell you about this big event in the next chapter. It's going to be unforgettable, so stay tuned. Chapter 6. Reflecting on Growth and Looking Forward. Hello, everyone. It's hard to believe how much has changed since my first day at this school in London. I still remember that mix of excitement and nervousness, wondering how I would ever be able to speak and understand English as naturally as my classmates. Now, as I look back, I can see just how far I've come, and it feels incredible. In the beginning, speaking even a few sentences was a challenge. I'd think about every word, worrying if it sounded right or if I'd make a mistake. But with each day, each conversation, and each activity, I started feeling a little more confident. Those techniques, like shadowing, rereading, and active reading, all made a difference. Slowly but surely, English started feeling less like a subject to study and more like a new way of expressing myself. One technique that helped me understand my progress was self-questioning. I'd ask myself simple questions like, can I understand this sentence without looking it up? Or, how comfortable do I feel speaking about my day? Reflecting on these small victories reminded me that every step, no matter how small, was part of my growth. And even when I faced challenges, I knew they were just steps on the path to improvement. There's a beautiful proverb that comes to mind. To learn a language is to have one more window from which to look at the world. Learning English has given me a new perspective, a new way to connect with others, and a new confidence to explore. It's like I've opened a window to a world full of possibilities. So, now I'd love to hear about your journey. How has learning English or any language changed your view of the world? What techniques or moments helped you feel like you were making progress? Please share your stories in the comments. I'd love to know what's helped you the most. Thank you for following along with me on this journey through my first experiences at a London school. Every challenge, every moment of progress, and every new friend has made this experience unforgettable. And this is only the beginning. I'm excited to keep growing, learning, and sharing more with you. Stay tuned for more stories and more adventures. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, each new word is a step toward a brighter future.